What's the most disrespectful thing a doctor did to you or your newborn after you gave birth? After 36 hours of labor, my newborn daughter Holly was whisked away because her breathing wasn't right. My husband Anthony stayed with me while I recovered from the emergency C-section. The head pediatrician, Dr. Walsh, came in hours later without Holly, looking bored and checking his phone. He barely glanced up when telling us Holly had a rare lung condition that would require immediate surgery. When I asked about the risks, he rolled his eyes and said if we waited any longer to decide, we'd be planning a funeral instead of a surgery. Before I could process his words, he shoved consent forms at me, tapping his watch impatiently. I signed them with trembling hands, still groggy from the anesthesia. He walked out without another word, leaving us terrified and confused. The nurses were amazing, but they couldn't tell us much. Everything had to come from Dr. Walsh, but he was impossible to find when we needed answers. The next day, right before Holly's surgery, I overheard Dr. Walsh in the hallway bragging about his golf handicap and weekend plans. When another doctor asked about his morning surgery, he laughed and said, "Just a quick fix on a defective baby. Should make it home for my tea time." My heart stopped. That defective baby was my daughter. I wanted to scream, but I was still too weak to even stand. Anthony found me crying and demanded to speak with hospital administration. They promised to look into it, but nothing changed. Holly's surgery was delayed 3 hours because Dr. Walsh was running behind schedule. We later found out he'd extended his lunch break to watch a golf tournament in the doctor's lounge. When he finally showed up, he reeked of chicken wings and didn't even wash his hands until a nurse reminded him. The surgery went fine, but recovery was a nightmare. Dr. Walsh kept missing his rounds, leaving us without updates for hours. When he did show up, he'd talk over our questions, telling us we wouldn't understand the medical terminology anyway. He even wrote the wrong name on Holly's chart multiple times, calling her Baby H, because he couldn't be bothered to remember her name. One night, Holly's oxygen levels dropped dangerously low. The nurses paged Dr. Walsh repeatedly, but he didn't answer. Another pediatrician had to step in. We later discovered Dr. Walsh had been at a bar watching a golf tournament. He showed up 3 hours later, stumbling slightly and slurring about how we were overreacting to normal fluctuations. That was my breaking point. I documented everything: the missed rounds, the delays, the mistakes in her charts, his comments about her being defective. I requested all of Holly's medical records and filed a formal complaint with the hospital board and the state medical board. Dr. Walsh suddenly started paying attention when he got called into meetings about his conduct. He tried to apologize, claiming he was just having a rough month, but the damage was done. Other parents came forward with similar stories. One mom lost her baby because he'd ignored warning signs, too busy watching golf to check on his patients. The investigation revealed he'd been disciplined at 3 other hospitals for similar behavior. He'd just moved states when things got too hot, but this time, his luck ran out. Security footage caught him drinking in his office between patient visits. His medical license was suspended pending review. 2 years later, Holly is thriving. Her lungs are perfect. Turns out she just needed minor surgery, not the extensive procedure Dr. Walsh had pushed for. We later learned he recommended more complicated surgeries because they paid better, not because kids needed them.